Hi everybody. So in this video for P5, we're going to show how to trigger sounds and animation using mouse clicks, but we're going to do it slightly different in that we're going to make only a specific shape or place on the canvas be able to trigger those sounds and animations. So if you're clicking elsewhere on the canvas, nothing will happen, but if you click within, say, a rectangle or a square, then that will cause the event to happen, the sound and the animation. Okay, so there's going to be a couple of things we need to know to do this, but let's just get started out with that basic idea of creating a space where we can click and that will cause something to happen. So I'm going to just first start out by making a rectangle, all 100, 100, 100, 100. So it is at point 100x, 100y, it is 100 in width, and it is 100 in height. So the idea is when I click inside this rectangle, it'll make something happen, and when I'm not clicking in the rectangle, nothing will happen. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, you don't need to do this, but I find it makes things a lot easier this way. So I'm going to make a variable for every single argument in my rectangle here. Okay, so I'm going to do rx for rectangle x equals 100. I'm just going to copy and paste this because everything's going to be relatively similar. So I'm going to make ry. I'm going to make rw, which is the width, and I'm going to make rh, which is the height. Okay, so I have Rx, which is 100, I have Ry, which is 100, I have Rw, which is 100, I have Rh. So now I rerun it, I get the same exact thing. Okay, so now here's how this is going to work. All right, say if I click inside this square, then I am going to have something happen. So right off the bat, we know that there's a condition that needs to be met. I'm using the word if I do something, so that is obviously going to mean we need a conditional statement. So I'm going to start with my basic conditional statement template here. So if, and then parentheses, which is where the condition that needs to be met is going to go, and here inside the curly brackets is the thing that's going to happen when I do that. Okay, now this is going to be, so basically what I'm saying is if the mouse is past this line and it is not past this line, and if it is past this line and not past this line, then that needs to happen, and all those things need to be true. So if I have a bunch of different things that need to be true, that means I need a compound conditional statement. Okay, and if I'm going by the mouse, that basically means I'm looking at the mouse x and the mouse y. So the position of the mouse, which we know is always mouse x and mouse y, those variables. So I'm going to start out if mouse x is greater than rx. Okay, so that right there, rx is 100. So if the mouse is greater than 100, which would put me past this edge of the rectangle, that's the first thing I need. Okay, but then okay, mouse x is less than, now here is where these variables come in handy if we decide to make any changes. So if mouse x is greater than, we're going to say rx, so this point plus the width of my rectangle, which would bring me to this other edge. So we have the rx, which is the starting point, and then we add the width to that, which would take me to the other edge of my square, and that is rw, which I made in a variable here. So I just do rx plus rw, and that way if I decide to change the size of my shape at any point, I don't need to go back and change a bunch of things in my code. It will all be connected to that variable. So this will keep me, so now if I'm past this one and not past this one, so if it's greater than 100 but less than 100 plus the width of the square, that puts me inside on this. Okay, now I'm still not there because that only accounts for this, not the top and bottom. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another. I'm going to, just to keep things somewhat streamlined here, I'm going to space this down, which is not going to cause a problem. I'm just going to copy and paste this mouse x, mouse y, because it's going to be relatively similar, except I can get rid of that. Okay, so except that I'm just going to basically change all these x's to y's. Okay, capital Y's for the mouse one. I can use lowercase here. And then instead of RW, I'm going to use RH, which is the height that we're going to refer to there, okay? And notice I have this on 2 lines. I could make it 1 line, but then it starts to run a little long. If you can put spaces with these compound conditionals as long as it's between this parenthesis and this parenthesis, okay? So that is the conditions that need to be met. So I've covered this side, this side, this side, and this side. So now inside this curly bracket, I can make something happen. So let's just keep it simple. Let's turn my square red. So when I click in the square, okay, it is going to turn red. All right, now I'm going to run this. I'm noticing now I left something out, which is very important, but I will get to that in a moment. So I'm going to press stop. I'm going to do it. Okay, now let me do that again, because let's see what happened here. Okay, so I move around the square, and then I go in and it turns red. All right, I do it again, it turns red. I come at it from any angle, it turns red, right? But it's not me clicking in there. Why? Because I also forgot to add the if mouse is pressed variable. Okay, now I could put this in this conditional statement, but I'm going to make actually a separate conditional statement here. So I'm going to say lowercase m mouse, capital I is, capital P pressed, close parentheses, and here I'm going to make a curly bracket, but then I'm going to make this other curly bracket down here. So this entire conditional statement is inside of this other conditional statement. This is called a nested conditional statement. So just understanding the difference. This is when I have a conditional statement inside of a conditional statement. A compound conditional statement is when I just have multiple conditions all within the same conditional statement, right? So now I go in here, I go in with the mouse, it does not change, but now I click and it turns red. Okay, I let go though and it stays red. All right, but let me just show another way. So now I'm clicking, hopefully you can hear me clicking outside of the square. I go in the square, I click, it turns red. Okay, now what I would like to have is that change back. So what I am going to add here is to this conditional statement, I'm just going to add an else. Okay. So, and actually, I think what I want to do is I want that to change. Let's see, if it's mouse there, mouse press. So yeah, I'm going to do else, okay, and then just do a regular fill to 55 to make it white again. All right, so I click, I go inside, I click, I let go, up it stays. Okay, so I click, I let go. All right, so I think I did want that. So what I was thinking here is I actually want this to be, this else statement is going to be outside of this curly bracket. Okay, and this is where we start to get into curly bracket problems and stuff. Okay, but if mouse is pressed, so, and if it is between mouse X and mouse Y. So now I click inside, I let go, it turns white. I click outside and nothing happens. I click in, I let go. All right, so there we have it. Now there's a very simple way for me to click inside a space and make something happen. All right, so basically anything inside here now I can use to make something happen. That could be animation, that could be a sound, etc. So we will get to now the next part moving in the next video where we'll trigger some sounds with that.